Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel Vigil, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel Vigil.
Good morning, everybody, and happy Thursday. We've got lots of football talk. I already saw one of the comments. Are any more changes going to be made? It's a great question. We bring in our buddy. He's returning back to the show, the Coffee Break table. Richie Carni is here, everybody. Richie, hello. How was your vacation, first of all?
It was good. It was good. I went to California to see my sister. Nice. She just had a baby, so it's my first niece.
Okay, I'm going to just promo Richie real quick. Go check out his Instagram at Richie Carni. Mm-hmm. He has the cutest photo that everybody needs to see. I'm obsessed with it.
Yeah, the little matching sweater and baby outfit deal. Guys, I bought that gift months in advance, and I was counting down the days because I wanted to give it to my sister and the baby so bad.
Oh my gosh, it's seriously so cute. Go check him out. Like I said, I'm going to promo him. It's freaking adorable. Let's talk about the breaking news yesterday. Randy Gregory obviously released. So everybody, we've got clarification. Essentially, we got told, or there were tweets going around, that Randy Gregory had asked to be traded. Shawn Payton yesterday comes out and says, no, this was our decision to just move on from him. So looks like a little bit of miscommunication there. You never know what, there's a team behind Randy Gregory who wants a certain message to come out. There's a team with the Broncos that wants a certain message to come out. Essentially, they just said, let's move on. Was it too soon? Was it just Shawn Payton making a decision being all right, we're done with this?
No, I mean, listen, he was healthy for, I think, 10 games out of 21 possible that he could have played. He had injury. I mean, Rachel, from the start of this Randy Gregory signing, there was controversy because there was a question about whether or not the Broncos knew that he was going to need surgery before they signed him, because immediately after they signed him, he had to get this procedure done. And then it was oh, yeah, we knew about that. But everyone was kind of okay. No. And so that was how it started. Then he didn't play. And he starts playing this year. He's finally healthy. It's that was always the narrative. When Randy Gregory's healthy, he's really good. Well, he's been healthy and he's not been good. So no, it's not too soon. And I think it was a move that solidifies that Shawn Payton's not messing around and he's the boss.
That's the main message that's coming across, right? Shawn Payton is fully in charge. And you just wonder if there was a disagreement or something in the locker room. They didn't like his attitude or something of that nature, because it just felt so out of nowhere. I don't know. It came as such a surprise to so many people, even though he was benched essentially for that first series against Chicago. I just looked at it and I was wow, to have that happen, he still played in the game and then just be peace out, goodbye. It just felt very rushed to me.
Yeah, I mean, it was unexpected. So being unexpected and kind of out of the blue, you could make an argument that it was rushed. But I guess in order for it to be rushed, the other side of the coin would have to be well, what do you gain? What would they have gained by waiting? So had they not cut Randy Gregory yet, what were they going to get?
$8.9 million if you would have cut him at the end of the season? That you need for a cap that's kind of bad?
Well, that's fair. That's fair. And I guess that would show you that they were willing to sacrifice $9 million to get him out of the building right now.
Which also leads me to believe that even if they start the rebuild and they start trading everybody, Russell Wilson is staying. Because if you're worried about money, yeah, I know, right? If you're worried about money and what you're going to have to pay Russell Wilson if he goes out the door, you're saving a little bit of pennies. I'm sorry. He's got a big contract. So it just makes me think.
He's the toughest one to move on from. That's for sure.
I'm I think a rebuild might start happening, but I think Russell Wilson might be around for it.
And that to me screams if we're going to rebuild, but we're going to keep Russell Wilson, our big expensive quarterback, that's not a rebuild. That's a retool. And that's what the Broncos have tried to do for so long. That is bringing in Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, Teddy Bridgewater, that kind of concept. That's rebuilding is let's go get Caleb Williams or Drake May or whatever you want to call it. But
retooling, I like it.
I guess if you're Shawn Payton, though, and Russ is playing better in your system, I mean, he's looked good. He's one of the top in terms of statistics. He's one of the top quarterbacks.
Yeah, I think it's come out that he's tied for third or fourth. I can't remember.
Yeah, he's
but
in the top 5.
He's essentially looked really solid. You have to give him credit. Now, the defense around him hasn't looked good. He's been running for his life because of his offensive line. His offensive line hasn't set him up for good success because of the false starts. But otherwise, Russell Wilson's not looking bad.
And maybe that's the one situation where like a retool instead of a rebuild could work, because when the Broncos have blown things up in the past and made quarterback changes, it's because the quarterback play was terrible and it was bad. And the rest of the team was actually okay. So it's like, hey, we've got all the other pieces. We just need to fix the quarterback.
Yep.
Now, if you've got, knock on wood, theoretically, the quarterback who's putting up the numbers and playing well, that might be easier to rebuild, retool around.
Yeah.
If you're trying to make a run in a championship window kind of thing.
I kind of like this. Retool. The Broncos are going to retool the, stuff around them. We're adding a different screw into a certain area.
It's all they've done because they won't rebuild. They've refused to rebuild for way too long.
Which I know makes Broncos country unhappy. Trust me, I read the comments every single day. And lots of people are like, we just want to win, rebuild it, tear it all down to the studs. Does this game on Sunday even matter anymore?
Oh, yeah. I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Because, again, it feels like we have had a little bit of a shift in what this season means and what's at stake. I mean, the Randy Gregory signing and all these little moves and these chess pieces that get placed kind of change our perception. So had they lost to the Bears, this game probably doesn't mean that much.
Okay.
But they got a win. It was in comeback fashion. They got the monkey off their back in the win column. And we'll see. This is a much more winnable game on paper than it was at the start of the season when we were like, oh, the return of Hackett and Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, now I'm still a little nervous, but
thank you. Everyone else is calling me an idiot. I'm like, no. Zach Wilson went toe-to-toe with Patrick Mahomes. The Jets' defense is solid, you guys. What are everyone being like, this is an easy win? I don't understand.
I saw the most bizarre stat the other day that game against the Chiefs was Zach Wilson's first career game with 2 passing touchdowns and no interceptions.
Oh, God.
He's been in the league for a hot minute, and that's never happened. He looked good. It's probably because of Taylor, but she raises all boats.
Of course.
But listen, I have felt for the majority of this abysmal period since Super Bowl 50 that the Broncos are the living embodiment of Murphy's Law. Anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So on paper, the Broncos have this opportunity. Zach Wilson is miserable. Robert Saleh looks like he wants to thunder punch him on the sideline every game. But they have a good defense, and they just can't quite get it all together. And this is like, hey, the Broncos just came back and won against the Bears. They're going to ride this momentum. They don't have to play Rodgers. I could easily see Zach Wilson dropping 270 and 3 touchdowns, and they lose to the Jets. I could just see it because that's what happens to the Broncos.
Justin Fields has his first 300-yard game against the Denver Broncos.
Lamar
defense.
Jackson threw his first 300-yard game against the Broncos.
I'm also
Justin Fields threw his first one against the Broncos. The Cowboys have always been America's team. The Broncos are America's get-right team. If you're in a funk, you come to Mile High, and they get you right.
You believe in Murphy's Law, and I believe in karma.
Ooh, karma.
I believe in karma. I'm like I'm not kidding. I'll tell a white lie, and I'm like, crap, I'm going to pay for that. Like the smallest thing in the world, right? Like, oh, did you put the dishes away?
Yeah, for sure.
I did, 100%. My fiance right now is like, oh my gosh, this liar. I believe in karma. I think Shawn Payton coming out and essentially saying, Nathaniel Hackett with the worst coaching job in the NFL. Well, what happened? What happened? A 70 burger gets dropped on Shawn Payton.
That's really good. The karma aspect of all that USA Today stuff.
And are you ready? Shawn Payton said he was going to reach out to Nathaniel Hackett and the Jets. Guess what Nathaniel Hackett said to the media yesterday?
That it hasn't happened?
It has not happened. He has not gotten a single phone call from Shawn Payton. Is not a good look. Is not a good look for Shawn Payton.
No, and when you, I remember we talked about this in the early goings after the USA Today comments and even early in the season before things kind of got a little wobbly. And I was very adamant, pounding the table, I'm okay with Shawn Payton puffing his chest, calling his shot, and doing that because that's who he is, and it's worked for him in the past. But I was adamant, he's got to back it up. And thus far, he has not backed it up.
Nope.
So that's where you got to pay the piper. And now I feel even more strong. I didn't even think about the karma aspect with the coaching and those comments and all that. This feels like a trap game.
Oh, 100%. And everybody is saying the Jets and not being behind Zach Wilson. They're behind him. Otherwise, they would have gave up against the Chiefs. they are behind their quarterback. You saw everybody after he had that fumble against the Chiefs. Everybody's coming up to him, patting him on the back because he's like, it's my fault. And they're like, you know what, dude? We got this.
They didn't win, but they hung tough, man.
Oh my gosh.
It came down to the final minute.
Yeah. And you got to give it to Nathaniel Hackett to have an entire playbook designed for one quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, and then have to change it over to a Zach Wilson type quarterback. Like, that's a big change.
Talk about a guy that just couldn't catch a break.
No.
Like, he gets his gig in Denver. He was clearly way in over his head. It was not a fit with Russell Wilson at all. He missed his whoopee and Aaron Rodgers. They finally reunited. He got a job immediately after one of the I'm not going to say it's the worst. It was one of the worst
100%.
rookie head coaching seasons of all time, because in-season fires don't happen all that much on your rookie year. And then he finally gets back with Aaron Rodgers, and then 4 plays in, it's like, nope.
Over.
Done.
I remember watching that game and I was like, oh, he'll be fine. And then I was just like, oh no.
I wanted them to just have a camera on Nathaniel Hackett and one on Saleh the whole game, just like split screen, like Manning cast. So I'm watching the game, but I get to watch their facial expressions of just like, why?
But I really do think that the Jets can beat the Broncos. And
I do.
I just think that they're the better team right now. We're talking about how good Russell Wilson is playing, and that's great. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game to a certain degree, maybe, I don't know, 24,
Yeah, what's
21.
high scoring for the Broncos?
Yeah, I know, right? Like, I'm like 24, 21 type style, but I just think that defense is going to come after him, and I don't think this offensive line can protect Russell Wilson. So if you can't move the ball, you can't score.
I think it's totally fair. And for you to say that I think the Jets can beat the Broncos, I think any team in the NFL can beat the Broncos.
Me too.
I don't
the
think
Bears almost beat the Broncos.
I don't think there are any teams in the NFL where you go, oh yeah, the Broncos got that number for sure. You can split hairs and go, hey, I think that they'll beat them. I think that they can exploit, blah, blah, blah. But the Broncos aren't good enough thus far for you to be dead confident that they can beat anybody.
No, agreed. Reading the comments, Jets D is legit. Zach Wilson is Drew Lock 2.0. Ouch.
That's rough.
Kind of sad.
That's rough. Zach Wilson's still starting.
Yeah, true.
I mean, now. That's actually, I take that back. That's not fair. He's starting because of injury. It was never going to happen. Same with Drew. So I take it back.
Broncos were better off tanking, but you beat the Bears and you busted your tank. Are you all in on Caleb Williams?
I want to be, but I've wanted it for so long. And then ironically, I was not happy about Joe Flacco. I was not happy about Case Keenum or Drew Lock or Teddy Bridgewater. None of that. When they traded for Russ, I was like, oh my God, okay, they finally did it. They've been ignoring drafting and developing a quarterback high in the first round and really embracing a rebuild for so long, but they finally found a guy that this is going to work. Yeah. And then it kind of hasn't so far. So even though Russ is playing better, if you've got an opportunity to get a generational quarterback, I think you have to take it. I do. Now it's early in the season though, right? Like
it is.
If it would be a lot easier to embrace the tank if it was like week 12 and they're 1-11.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Which could happen.
It could. They got
really
the one. So
it could happen.
And I was actually talking about this with somebody else yesterday, and you want to talk about how seismically one win can make. So to say you busted your tank, right? I think it was the 2021 draft with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah.
And like 14 weeks into the season, you had like 2 teams that had like 1 win.
Yeah.
It was the Jaguars and the Jets, ironically. And it was like week 13 or 14, and the Jets played the Raiders. And on the final drive of the game, in like the final minute, the Raiders ran, it was Greg Williams, ran a cover 0 blitz, and the Jets threw a touchdown to win the game in the final seconds. And they won, the Jaguars lost, and that separated enough that the Jaguars rolled on to get the number 1 pick, and they landed Trevor Lawrence. The Jets slipped back to like 2 or 3, and they ended up with Zach Wilson. Fast forward, the Jaguars look like they're going to win the AFC South, and Trevor Lawrence is balling.
Yeah.
Zach Wilson got benched. His team wanted to move on from him so bad, and he's only playing by force because Aaron Rodgers got hurt. True. And the trajectory of those franchises is crazy. So one win really can bust a tank, just like that.
100%. And you never know what can happen in the National Football League. Is the Broncos defense going to get better? Because there were quite a few players that were back at practice. Inside linebacker Joey Jewell, safeties Justin Simmons and PJ Locke, and then edge rushers Baron Browning and Frank Clark. Does this automatically, in your mind, say, yep, they're going to get better, even though these guys are coming back from injury and they're probably not 100%?
Yes, I would say that it's pretty fair to say that they're going to be better. Justin Simmons' presence out on the field, even if he's not technically at 100%, it matters. That safety position is banged up. Obviously, they're a little bit thinner at edge rusher right now, and it hasn't been the strongest area of the defense in certain moments. So I like that. So yes, I would say that, and obviously Jeudy coming back in the middle. I think overall, this defense has been undermanned and outgunned in every single game. So any reinforcements of any kind are probably going to make some positives.
Have we not been giving like that defense enough slack because they were so limited at so many positions, right? Like we can talk about all of the injuries, but
you got 70 hung on you,
okay,
in the NFL.
Okay, but let's be honest. If you're playing Madden football and all of a sudden you're down 50 to like 7, you're like, all right, let's just finish up this game. Let the clock run. Like, let's be done with it.
70 is a high score for Madden sometimes.
Yeah.
But so even for video game standards, that's a lot.
But at a certain point, you're just kind of like, okay,
running 5-minute quarters.
Yeah. You're just like, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. I've that picture.
Like, we're all humans.
That picture of Achane running down the left sideline, and there's just like 6 Broncos defenders on their back or stomach, flat on the ground, in a trail of dust behind him. That will be one of the most infamous photos, definitely, that comes out of this season. Mm-hmm. But in the last few years, that they look like they just quit. They just had nothing to do.
I would have.
They were right. There was no coming back from that.
Yeah.
But it still hurts to see.
Listen, when I'm getting smoked in Wii bowling or switch bowling, whatever we're calling it nowadays, I'm like, all right, let's just be done with it.
I was nasty at Wii bowling back in the day. You get like the little wrist flicks. You get the spin on it.
Listen, we played last night Switch golf. So fun.
I don't have a Switch. I don't have a Switch.
Really?
I did. We got a Wii in my house when I was growing up. And my sister and I were big Wii sports competitors. Yep. We'd go at it at tennis and baseball.
Yep.
Yeah.
So fun. That's essentially what the Switch Sports is now. It's just the newer version of Wii Sports. But I like the golf. I'm pretty good at it. I won't lie.
Yeah,
I was winning last night. I was going to say, what did I don't even remember what I put up, but I won last night. So that's all that matters right there. You want to know something cool?
Always.
The Broncos have a new field design for this weekend. They're going to have white end zones because, of course, they're doing the color rush uniforms and the snow-capped helmets. I actually am so here for this. I think this looks freaking awesome.
I like it. Listen, I am pro. I believe in traditions and establishing, kind of those things. Yeah. But I love trying new things, experimenting, getting outside the box, outside the comfort zone, because that's ultimately the only way that I think that you grow. Mm-hmm. And, maybe that's a little bit more of like a serious analogy for something like this, but I'm all for crazy, fun, little quirky 1-week deals. I don't know. You don't have to necessarily go like the Oregon Duck football route where it's like there's a new thing every single game.
Yep.
Sometimes they come out with a different thing at halftime.
Yep.
But they don't, but whatever. But yeah, no, I think that's cool. And I like the snow-capped helmets.
I love the snow-capped helmets. We got a little sneak peek of a few players wearing them the other day at practice. I was like, these look nice out there.
I love it.
How many players are we going to see just completely with white paint all over themselves because they scored a touchdown from the Broncos?
I hope a lot. Because are both end zones white?
Yeah.
Okay, then I hope a lot.
Okay.
Because I would like a high-scoring, exciting game. Yeah. I would like, at least offensively for the Broncos. We'll see defensively, but I don't know. I would hope like 4.
Okay.
4 players.
Just completely white down the side of them. On the color rush.
Maybe more because they're all doing a group celebration. They're swag surfing or something.
Okay.
I don't know.
I like it. Are you on the bandwagon of Trey, Jerry, Jeudy, and Courtland Sutton?
Yep.
Okay. I'm happy to hear that.
Ship them out. I just don't think that they're in 2 completely different situations. Courtland Sutton is on the back end of his, prime effectiveness as a top 1 or 2 receiver.
Was he ever really there, or did the injury just
backfire? Was here. Well, before he got hurt the first time.
Yep.
He really did have, a little bit more explosiveness, jump. He was really that 50-50 ball kind of guy, and that's what he did at SMU. And then after that, he lost a step for a couple of years. But in training camp this year, you and I talked about it. It looked like it was coming back a little bit. So, but again, when you factor in the age and the money, like you're not getting what you need there. And with Jerry Jeudy, it just it hasn't fully materialized, and you can blame some of that. You can blame some of that on the rotation of quarterbacks and the bad coaching and all of that, because he clearly has athleticism. He's a good route runner. He's very shifty and all that, but it hasn't translated into numbers, into touchdowns, or anything like that. And I don't think he's probably not happy here.
No, it's clear the way he's going at people on Twitter. It's very obvious he's not happy.
So if you can get but again, this goes a little bit toward embracing the tank, right? Trading one of them is one thing. Trading them both is like, okay, so I lean more that way, so I'm fine with it.
One of the interesting things, I was having a conversation yesterday where it's like everyone is linking Jeudy to heading down to Carolina with the Panthers.
Jordan Schultz.
And it essentially kind of just shows you that none of the top teams look at Jeudy as this number one wide receiver. Like it kind of, it's a way of showing like his worth when a team like Carolina is being linked to you.
Yeah, and it's all about the market too. Like Carolina just invested in a young quarterback, number 1 overall, Bryce Young, and he's throwing to like 30-something-year-old Adam Thielen and just this kind of weird wide receiver room. So like the Broncos wide receiver room has underperformed. The Panthers wide receiver room is worse. Yeah. So they were adamant. We invested in this guy. We have to give him weapons. So they're more inclined to way overvalue a guy like Jeudy than a team that's more middle of the road, or definitely not the upper echelon teams like the Bengals, the Vikings, teams that have the Rams that have solid wide receiver rooms.
Are you on board? I am not, to trade Pat Surtain. Because everyone is saying like mid-high 20s, 30s. You're on board, just send him out.
If I'm on board with sending him out, if you have a calculated, cohesive plan of what you want to do, if your plan really is, hey, our cupboards are bare, our talent has not materialized, and frickin' George Payton hasn't made the draft picks and the signings that I want. If I'm Shawn Payton, then
I said he's the problem all along.
So I'm on board with doing that. I'm not on board with doing it just to do it. I'm on board with doing it if you have a plan and you get the value that you want. And you know how you're going to spend that capital, and whether that's because if you're trading Pat Surtain, Justin Simmons better already be gone, and a lot of other players better already be on the move.
If you're Justin Simmons right now, you're thinking you're moving.
There's a lot of people out there, and I actually would like to get your thoughts on this, that say like, oh yeah, like sale at the deadline, fire sale, trade everybody away, but Pat Surtain's untouchable. You can't touch him. Nobody. If that's truly your mindset and you're fire sailing, you're moving at the deadline, then nobody's untouchable because everybody's got a price. You tell me if somebody offers you like 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, or 3 first-round picks for Pat Surtain, you're going to say no?
No.
Not a chance. Not a chance.
But I just don't like the bottom of the first round for Pat Surtain. I'm like, if you're going to do that, then you need a second round in there for him too.
Yeah, and I know that Ryan O'Halloran, who used to be on this beat here and now does some stuff in upstate New York, he put out a column explaining why the Bills need to pick up the phone and call about Pat Surtain. Because they need a corner. And I think his offer was a player. It was another corner who they just drafted. And he was a first-round selection, I believe. And then a first-round pick and a second-round pick or something like that. So it's like 1, a 2, and then a player from last year's draft or whatever it was who was a first-round pick. So sometimes people equate that as 2 firsts.
The Broncos.
I'm just saying, like, if you're on board with trading everybody else, nobody's untouchable. There's a price for everybody, and if you have a plan of who you're gonna get rid of and what you're gonna spend it on, go for it.
It's always interesting. Lots of good Broncos talk to come. Richie Carni, as always, appreciate you hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your expertise to make me feel better about the Jets. I appreciate it.
Yes,
because
you're on the right page.
Everyone's calling me crazy. If you have not already heard, we're giving away Foo Fighter tickets to Empower Field, Denver, Colorado, on August the 3rd next year. Definitely, you guys, listen to 104.3 The Fan. You can have an opportunity to win there. Now, I want to talk to you guys actually about an interesting story. If you haven't already heard, Jonathan Duran. Oh my goodness, I can't even talk anymore. Jonathan Duran, who is coming to the Colorado Avalanche team, has a unique history with Nathan McKinnon. Now, here's why I think this is actually kind of fascinating. They go back way, way, way back to playing junior hockey together. Now, of course, when you look at kind of how the whole hockey world can come together, it's fascinating. These two were talking via Facebook Messenger back in like 2011, okay? They had never met. They were chatting every single day, talking via Facebook. And eventually, Nathan MacKinnon ends up taking Jonathan to practice. He ends up taking him to school. They become great buddies. And we've seen them at the World Hockey Championships. They've played together since then. And now Jonathan is on the Colorado Avalanche team. Here's why I love this. We are already seeing a line, essentially, of MacKinnon, Rantanen, and Jonathan Drouin. And I love that for them. I love that there's this connection, this special connection. Jonathan Drouin's kind of had like an up and down career. He got in some, I don't want to say trouble with the Lightning, but he was just kind of all over the place with the Lightning. He goes up to the Canadiens, hanging out with them. His career has never really blossomed. But the fact that he's going to go back to playing with his old buddy in Nathan MacKinnon, I absolutely love this. In 93 regular season games that the two had at the junior level, get ready for this, the two tallied a whopping 180 points. 105 points in 49 games for Drouin and 75 points for Nathan MacKinnon in 44 games. These two know how to play together. These two have been able to figure out how to be a dynamic duo, right? Like we talk about Thunder and Lightning when it comes to the Denver Broncos. How about Thunder and Lightning for the Colorado Avalanche? I love the idea of that. And I love that they already have that relationship. And sometimes when you just put two guys together on the ice, even if it's been 10 years, they're going to figure it out. And we're seeing that line already out there, Avalanche practice. Drouin was brought over in July, if you did not know about that. And then, so essentially, MacKinnon was drafted number 1 overall by the Colorado Avalanche. Drouin was drafted number 3 by the Tampa Bay Lightning. So again, these guys have been together. They played together. They're very highly recruited because of what they were doing at the junior level. They went their separate ways and now they're coming back. And I just love a story like that because it just adds a little bit extra, I feel like, right? When you know two guys already know each other and they've gone out there and they've balled out and they've had so much fun doing it and they're really close, that chemistry off the ice can definitely happen on the ice. And that's kind of feels like the times I've been in the locker room, especially last year, after the cup run, you guys, something just felt off. Like they weren't all connected. The chemistry wasn't there. During the cup run, it felt like a brotherhood. Like it was so close and bonded. And there was so much drama last year. But to bring in another guy like Jonathan Drouin, I love the idea of it because it brings in that chemistry. And with somebody like Nathan MacKinnon, who we all know can be a little bit of, what's the word I want to use? I don't want to say like a hard ass, but almost like a hard ass where he's got his standards. And if you don't meet him, you don't meet him. I love this move by them. I think it's so cool. And again, I just think it's so funny the fact that they were like talking via Facebook Messenger. Does anybody remember the days of like IMs and like, was it AIM or whatever it is, and you guys were like sitting at your computer chatting because it cost money to like send a text message? Like those days I think are so funny. And I just love that they were chatting via Facebook way, way, way back in the day. And now they're being reconnected so many years later. So I love that story. I don't know about you guys. I'm excited for Avalanche hockey to get rolling. I'm over the preseason games. I'm like, just give me actual hockey. Like, let's bring it on. Same for the Nuggets. I'm like, okay, great. Training camp's going on, but I'm just so ready for all of that to start. Gonna go read some of your guys' comments. Again, having Richie on was such great, like just great talking. Love that you guys are 100% looking for great chemistry between MacKinnon and Drouin. 100%. The Broncos need a MacKinnon, holds everybody to a standard. I second that statement actually a lot. They do. They need somebody. And I feel like it was supposed to be Justin Simmons. Justin Simmons does hold them to a standard, but Justin Simmons is such a nice guy. So I just feel like it's not there. Drouin is such a good playmaker. Love that. You can tell at practice, he's so excited to be playing with MacKinnon. I agree. It's funny how Drouin at the junior level was like a little bit better than Nathan MacKinnon. And now it just seems like it's soared for Nathan MacKinnon. It's all about where you can be placed. And when you're placed in a good organization, you never know what can happen for both of them. So I'm really excited to see them practicing on a line together. I'm hoping we're going to see some lightning and thunder between the two of them out there when the Avalanche start up. Literally so soon, you guys. Broncos, Jets on Sunday. We got plenty more to talk about when it comes to these two teams, and the drama continues. Will Shawn Payton call Nathaniel Hackett? We'll find out. All right, everybody. We will see you tomorrow. If you are listening to 104.3 The Fan, I'm headed over to the War Room. That starts at 12 p.m. I think they're already starting, but I'm joining at 12 p.m. Come listen. Come hang out with us. If we talk Broncos, Nuggets, whatever else is going on in the sports world. We will see you guys tomorrow morning, 10:30 a.m. Bye, everybody. Have a good one.